Hey everybody, welcome to the Solminod Show with Sonia. I'm so glad that you guys are joining us here today. We have a fantastic show. We have some amazingly talented and gifted people here that we will be discussing and seeing a body of their work. But before we get to that, hey everybody, thanks for joining us. Give us a shout out. Where are you from? And share this with your friends. I know I've got Seattle on, and I see you, Des Moines and Detroit. I know that you're there, and Hotlanta, I know that you're in the house, so I'm glad that you're there and joining us here on the show today. So listen, you guys, I want to remind all of you in this COVID climate, I hope y'all are doing well, I want to remind you all to go out and get your COVID test. You can do that now if you go on to vaulthealth.com. I actually did that about a week ago when it was approved here by Governor Walz in the state of Minnesota, and I had that delivered, so I'll be sending mine out. We don't want to wait until, we have any symptoms or we are exposed to somebody, but really, it's available to all of us. It is free. It's pretty simple, so you guys go on there and order yours today, and you can get that sent off. So I hope you all stay safe. And that you are compliant along and considered along with everybody else. Hey, I am going to be highlighting a restaurant each week here on the Solminod Show with Sonia every Wednesday at noon. So I'd like you guys to submit to me restaurants that you would like to that you'd like me to highlight, share their business, whether there's a backstory on the owners, the service is amazing, or of course the food is just incredible, delicioso. Whatever the case may be, send me those restaurants, delis, ice cream parlors, coffee shops, whatever it is. And really, you guys, this is from any city here across America. So get those sent in here to me. You can send them to sonia@solminod.com, or you can just submit it there through the website at solminod.com. Again, I will be featuring and highlighting one restaurant every single week. Here in this COVID climate, it's really been challenging for so many businesses. And I know the restaurant industry has been hit very hard. So I just want to always give a little bit of time to those restaurants each week. So go ahead and get those submitted. Next week, we have a special show coming up for you. It'll be the day before Thanksgiving, and you'll know we have so much to be thankful for, so much to be grateful for this year. And it's been a challenging year for all of us, not only here in America, but around the world. Yet there's always something to be grateful for. And we have a special show set up for you guys just to encourage you, uplift you, and edify those who need to be edified, and just share our thankfulness and our gratitude for the immeasurable ways that we truly have been blessed. Even though we have gone through all of these trials and tribulations, we're going through it together. So tune in next week. Then after that, the following week, you guys, we will be airing live from Mexico. So I'll be heading back down there to Mexico, COVID compliant, of course. I'll be going down there to Ocean Coral and Turquesa. So, hey, you guys, Luis and Jesus and Luisa and Jose, I'll be seeing you guys here in a little bit. Pamela, thank you so much for the email yesterday. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And I hope that you're all safe. I know that you guys are only booking out the resorts at about 30 to 40% capacity, so we thank you for that. I look forward to seeing all of you again. So the next Wednesday is, when is that, Gabe? Is that December the 3rd? No, wait, is it December 1st, that Wednesday? I think it's whatever that Wednesday is, you guys. I think maybe it's December 1st, maybe the 2nd. Anyway, that will be airing from Mexico, and next week will be the Thanksgiving special show that we'll have for you. So tune in then, and you can expect that. You guys, I have some clothing drives and blanket drives, a drive that we'll be doing again, here at Solminod for 10 years. This is our 10th anniversary. For 10 years, we've always done the coat drives and the blanket drives, and since I now reside right here in Minneapolis, we will be doing that here in Minneapolis. I'll share the information with all of our viewers who are here in the area, but I encourage each and every one of you to do the same thing, to do duplicate this process in the city that you're in, or at least take the time to go through your own items and donate those to your local charity in need. Winter is upon us, and there are those who are needing our assistance. And Solminod is always about being healthy, fit, and strong in your soul, mind, and body. And we're generous, and we give back. And we encourage one another to do that. So I encourage you to do that here in the coming weeks. Then we have... I'm officiating a couple more weddings. I'm so excited. You guys know I'm a licensed ordained minister, and I had a couple weddings here over the summer, a few that had canceled, but I do have one that's coming up right here in the Twin Cities toward the end of December, COVID compliant, of course, and then I have another one out in Seattle. So Melissa and Scott, I'm really looking forward to working with you and officiating your wedding here in the Twin Cities, and Daniel and Adrian out there in Seattle. It's going to be a wonderful time. And talk about those challenges. There's been so many weddings, you guys, this year, and I'm sure you all, at this point, everybody knows somebody who's had to go through that challenge and has had to, they've chosen to cancel their weddings, or they were limited to 100 people, and then it went down to 50, and then it was down to 30, and some weddings literally, depending on what state they were in, they could only have 12, up to 10 or 12 people there. So, my heart goes out to you, and everybody's making the decisions that are best for them, but we just want to encourage you and recognize that this is difficult for you, and we're praying for you. But you guys, I'm looking forward to officiating your wedding, and I know that's going to be great, even though that the size is limited. Okay, just looking over my notes here. Yeah, we've got the restaurants, and, this is our 10th anniversary, as I was saying. We are airing here from a relatively new studio here in Minneapolis, and it'll be live every Wednesday at noon. But if you want to go back and look at the other episodes that we've had for the last 10 years, you can go to the Solminod YouTube page or to the website. Not every show is on there, but there's just an example of some of our work. We will have segments on beauty and charities, philanthropy, ministries, fitness, health, psychiatrists, psychologists, you name it. We've had them on the show. We have so many more coming up. We have a great lineup. So tune in here every Wednesday at noon for the Solminod Show with Sonia. Okay. So that's it for my intro and all of that housekeeping stuff. But today I want to share with you, we have photojournalists here in the studio with us. We're going to swap them out so that we remain COVID compliant and everybody is safe. But we do have photojournalists that are in here that have been working tirelessly here in the Twin Cities. It's been a difficult season, a challenging season, but the spirit of solidarity and the spirit of unity amongst the media here in the Twin Cities has just been just a beautiful thing, and you're going to see that today. You're going to feel that and sense that. But I want to introduce our guests to you. They're all freelance photojournalists, and they've come together to formulate a new company called Move for Justice News. So my first guest that I'd like to introduce to you is Phil Ward. Phil, welcome to the Solminod Show with Sonia.
Thank you, Sonia. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm just honored to have all of you guys here. And then over here to my right, I have King Demetrius Pendleton. King Demetrius, thank you so much for being here. And we have Emma down here at the end of the table.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Also here, offset, we do have Louis Tran is here and Chris June. And throughout the show, we'll notice that we'll go ahead and swap them out. It's important that we remain COVID compliant, and so we have to keep our distance, and we can only have so many here on set. So you will see that. But all five of them are here. I have met them, worked with them, or we've been side by side throughout this movement here in Minneapolis. And you guys know I've always supported the work of the guys that are on set, the guys and gals that are on set. You have your grip and your light, and you have your photographers and our videographers and the editors and the producers, and there's so much that is going on behind the scenes, but they have a very unique perspective, and so I've invited them to come here together to be on the show and share some with us and with our viewers what you guys have seen from your vantage point and what you have experienced. We have some photos. We'll start with, I gave just some there, Gabe, if you can hear me, the ones that I had submitted that are photographs of, oh, there they are. They're showing now. Yeah, they're, right. Yeah, the behind-the-scenes shots of them while they're working. I don't even know if you guys have seen these before, but I've submitted them, and because I've been out and about, working, but I've also been taking photographs of you guys working. So I shared them with Gabe. They'll be getting them up here in just a moment. But let's go ahead and start this conversation. So, Phil, how long have you been in the industry?
I've been shooting for about 5 years.
And have you always been here in the Twin Cities?
Yep, always in the Twin Cities. I've been here my whole life.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And do you specialize in one type of photography, or is it broad and varied?
It's fairly broad and varied.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing movement photography and done some real estate and some portrait work here and there. Mm-hmm. But when I started off, my number one love in photography is architectural stuff and line exposure night photography.
Oh, wonderful.
That's what I love to do.
I hope you submitted some of that for us to see today, too.
None of that stuff, but it's all on my Instagram. So.
And what is your Instagram account?
Phil Ward Photo.
Phil Ward Photo. And you guys are going to see throughout the show, you're going to see our guests' contact information, their websites, where you can see additional photos and so much more of the body of work. We have some that are submitted today, but you'll see more on that. So throughout the show, you will see that going across there. And how about for you, King Demetrius? How long have you been in the industry?
I've been in the industry for about 6 years.
And again, always here in the Twin Cities?
Always here in the Twin Cities.
Mm-hmm. And what gave you the heart and the drive to become a photojournalist?
Well, basically, I watched a lot of Gordon Parks documentaries and films and what have they. And what really gave me the go-ahead to basically get into photography was my daughter was tragically killed by a drunk driver.
I'm so sorry.
And I was trying to bring awareness about that, and there wasn't any voices to be said about it. There wasn't anyone talking about it, so I decided to jump back in school after 28 years. Mm-hmm. And after that, Jamar Clark got killed. When Jamar Clark was killed, it just set a spark in me. I was documenting, I was recording things, and then from there, I just stayed boots on the ground. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it generated into Black CNN, independent journalist, photographer at listenmedia.org. Mm-hmm. So I have been documenting. At first, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know I was going to be accepted. And I just kept being boots on the ground, and people just started looking at my work.
Mm-hmm. And your work is incredible, all of you, which is why I've asked you to be here. If you can just look in your camera here, you see his mascot. It says, listen.
Listen.
There you go. One more time.
Listen.
It's great because we'll be out there and somebody's speaking and sometimes, folks are kind of talking in the background and things are getting a little bit loud. And then all of a sudden you hear.
Listen.
I love it. Warms my heart every time I hear him. So Emma, talk to us about your background and how long that you've been involved in photojournalism.
Well, I decided to dabble in photography in 2011 when my daughter was born, because I didn't want to go back to a full-time job if I didn't have to. Sure. So I picked up a camera and gave it a try, and it ended up being successful right away. Mm-hmm. But in terms of photojournalism and like the movement work, I've been an activist for the bulk of my adult life, and after starting to photograph things professionally, like portraits and weddings, I was like, why am I not taking pictures when I go to protests?
Right.
So I started just taking pictures when I was at things, because why not? And it ended up being a way that I could give back to the causes that I cared about. So I would take photos at whatever protest I went to, and then I would give it to the organizers as, you can use these if you want to, you don't have to, no pressure. But it happened around, I guess, the same time as what King had mentioned, that the Jamar Clark stuff, I lived really close to where he was murdered, so I went to a lot of those things over the years, and then I was hearing you shout out listen for years before I met you. So I happen to love that you went with the name Listen Media, because I was like, that's really cool. It makes so much sense. So that's kind of how I got into it, and now it's just something that I can't not do.
Right.
It's part
right.
of who I am.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it becomes a part of you, just such a passion. And, at Solminod, we're always talking about, I believe that, God has called us all to do something, although it's different from person to person. And, whatever that is, if we would all just yield to that and press in and follow through with it and just do your part. And you guys are doing what you've been called to do. I mean, you're in your lane. You are within your gifting, and you are making a tremendous contribution. So I commend you for that, and I thank you guys for that. I know the community does. You guys have work that has been submitted to other organizations as well. I notice there's other media outlets who have pulled some of your work and have used some of your work in other areas, haven't they? Any of your different photos that you've taken? When I'm watching different newscasts, even TV shows that are filming, post George Floyd in the pandemic. Now they're with the masks on, and when they're showing photographs, I see some are photographs of you guys, of people right here in the Twin Cities that are even on those shows. So I'm trying to look around and see if I can recognize anybody. What is the most difficult thing, Emma, that you think that you have seen from your vantage point?
I think the most difficult thing there's a couple of different difficult things, but one of the difficult things that I experienced was actually not here, and it was recently in Washington, D.C. Is that okay if I
Tell us
mention
about that?
One? Okay.
Yes, please.
I was in Washington, D.C. during the election. I was there the day before for about a week because there were different events that I wanted to make it to, and one of them is something that I went to last year, and it just happened to fall around election time this year, called the Black People's March on the White House. And it's kind of like more of a revolutionary crowd of people that doesn't necessarily subscribe to two-party politics and stuff. And instead of saying, they say Black Lives Matter, but they say Black Power too. And that march happened to be on Saturday, the day that the announcement happened about Joe Biden. And so we have all this planned already, and we have this signage about political prisoners, about just really important things that are kind of absent from the narrative a lot. And we were getting ready for this while there's people celebrating all around us, and there's horns honking and people cheering, and everybody was happy, but everybody knows that things aren't just going to magically fix themselves. So some of the chants that were being said, we're talking about that. And as we marched from Malcolm X Park to the White House, we encountered massive crowds as we were getting closer to the White House. And there were quite a few people that we encountered along the way that had Black Lives Matter shirts and signs or masks on that actually, once they realized that this march was for Black Power, they wouldn't make eye contact with us. And when we were talking about political prisoners and things like that, that was too far for some of them. And it was really hard to see that, especially after everything that's happened this summer, just knowing that there are some people who get involved in these things because it's just happening this year, because it's almost the trendy thing in a way, which is really uncomfortable. But that's happening in all cities. But seeing that happen specifically in Washington, D.C. for this event that I went to for the second time because I care about it. It's not just because it's a trend or whatever.
Yes.
It was hard to see people start to join us because they think we were just celebrating one thing and then stop making eye contact and disappear. So that's kind of the hardest thing that I've seen throughout all of this was people turn their eyes when it doesn't quite fit what they wanted it to be used for.
Yep.
And
Lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding. And you guys feel free to chime in. This could just be an open conversation. What are your thoughts on that, Phil?
I notice that all the time on my social media. You know, I post a picture of an abandoned building on Instagram, and it instantly has 200 likes. If I post a photo of Black Lives Matter march, you know, I'm lucky to get 65 to 85.
Yeah.
Because apparently there's a broad section of the people that follow me that are not comfortable with that, and that's really disappointing to me.
It's uncomfortable. It's not cute. It's not fun. It's not.
No, it's it's right in your face, and it's they don't subscribe to that, and
No.
and that was shocking to me too. There's a lot of people that I've known for a long time that, you know, people I've been friends with for a long time that don't like any of those photos.
I understand. I've seen that a lot.
You know, and that's discouraging for me.
Yeah, sure, it is. Especially since this has been such a large body of your work, you know.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and your hearts are all completely in it. And this is nothing new. This is nothing new for any of us. Yeah, you know, I just keep trying to encourage people, you know, we keep informing, you know, in truth and in love, and just sharing facts, sharing the truth, helping to raise awareness, and, you know, one person at a time, you know, their eyes will be opened, their ears will be opened, and they'll come alongside. You know, they may not be out there physically, and they certainly don't have to, but they'll do something, you know, that is for progress, you know. And they'll have another conversation. It's like the Fabergé commercial, you know, for those of you that are old enough. You know, they'll tell two friends, and they'll tell two friends, and they'll tell, right? And so we hold on to that hope, and we don't stop. And it is discouraging, but we certainly just don't want that to overpower us and stop the important work, you know, that we're
Absolutely
doing.
not.
Yeah. King Demetrius, what are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are basically an uncomfortable moment is basically always with me because I'm an African-American man, for one. I'm black 24/7.
Yes.
But being in the movement and being boots on the ground, totally. I remember when Jamar Clark was tragically murdered, and they came out with false accusations about him. And then I can recall being in the trial room of Philando Castile, and being in that courtroom and listening to the gunshots and seeing how he was gunned down, sitting in the vehicle, had license to carry, a woman beside him and a baby in the back of the car, and said, "Mommy, they shooting." It was totally mind-boggling to see that, to be sitting in the courtroom and to be hearing the baby basically saying, "Mommy, they're shooting." And not only that, we had warned the city, we had warned the governor, we had warned everyone that Dr. Nakima Levy Armstrong had warned them that this city can burn. When we seen Philando get gunned down and nothing was did about that, everybody was in tears, in disbelief that no charges was being brought against this officer.
Right.
And then when we seen Justine Damon get killed and her family get $20 million, and they get an inkling of justice by Muhammad Noor being locked up. And then when George Floyd was killed, that was a whole different ball game, because May the 25th, as I was live streaming, I noticed it was a white supremacist out there, and we basically I was recording him, documenting. And what Facebook did, that's why I'm so glad, Sonia, you have your media and your outlet. That's why I decided to make sure my outlet and things was being done and was being documented. But Facebook went on to basically shut my Facebook page down for a month. just because I documented the truth. No warning, no nothing, because
Wow.
I documented the truth.
It's terrible.
Myself, Unicorn Riot, and other people was out there documenting things, and everybody was having problems with their Facebook Live feed because they did not want to see the truth. But George Floyd's name is not just a hashtag.
That's right.
And when I seen police officers tear gas peaceful protesters, when I seen white supremacists come in our community and burn our community down and blame us for it,
Right.
and it's just kind of like, where do we go from here? And then to walk through Minneapolis and St. Paul, everybody is rioting, and to just see that, it's like, wow, this is what it's come to. And then to see a president make false accusations and tomfoolery statements against a nation of people, and basically have the white supremacists say, yeah, you guys did right. I mean, like, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And I seen one incident that was really troubling to me when I seen, it's on my live feed. I'm not for sure if they took it down, but this happened May the 25th when we went to protest, and we went to the precinct, the 3rd precinct. A police officer in riot gear pushed a white girl down so hard. Out of all the noise that was, I heard her body just hit the ground. And it was just like troubling to me because like she had her hands up. They had already hit us with the pepper spray and everything. And when he pushed her off her feet, and you can hear her body just like hit the ground. It was just like, oh, I felt that, you know what I'm saying? And to see what's going on when we protested during the election, like when Biden and Kamala Harris won this election, and we were on the highway peacefully protesting.
Right.
The police came and literally arrested 600 and some odd people for nothing. Wouldn't even let us get off the highway. We were peacefully protesting.
I watched it live.
Peacefully protesting.
Were you there too,
yeah.
Emma?
I wasn't.
I was
there.
there.
Louis was
Yeah.
You were
live
there?
streaming.
Yep.
You were, yeah.
Louis was live streaming.
Oh,
I
Louis
watched
was,
it while
yeah.
I was in DC.
Yeah.
But it was just sad because we watched other people throw things at buildings, march through downtown, no arrest, no nothing did. We peacefully protest, was a quick get on the highway and to come off. And as we were about to come off, we was like literally like about 50 feet off the exit. The police came on horses, they came on buses, they came in squad cars, they came in army tanks, and they came in state trooper vehicles. They bossed us all in, would not let anyone get up off the expressway. And it was kind of like, what's going to happen? And not only that, there was young indigenous children out there, white children out there, college kids out there.
Yes.
It was
so- it was very diverse.
It was a very diverse crowd. And then to see what Minneapolis and St. Paul did, and the Mayor Jacob Fry, Governor Tim Walsh, they would not answer their phone. We have a problem. And lock everybody up, give them chumped up charges, and then for them to basically say, I heard, allegedly, an individual said, well, we're going to teach them a lesson. But white supremacists go to Governor Tim Walsh's house anytime they want to with arms, with guns, and nothing is said. No lesson is being taught by them.
Right.
No lesson. But why are we being taught a lesson? We're peacefully protesting
Right.
with no firearms or anything. So we definitely have a problem right here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and St. Paul.
And have they extended courtesies to you guys when you're out there as media? I mean, I've seen you guys out there. You have all your gear, you have all your equipment, you have your media vests on. Are they honoring that, or have you also been on the receiving end of how they?
No, they're honoring it.
That's
It's
wonderful.
gotten better. At
gotten
first,
better.
they
It's
weren't.
At first, they
At
weren't. but
at
yeah.
first, there's international media, national big media
Yep.
that got hit in the head with
Right.
flashbangs and
Yeah.
stuff. They were not. They were.
Yeah.
It seemed at the beginning that they were purposefully dishonoring it, that they were
Yes.
actually going after the media. But
Right.
I think that there was so much backlash nationally
Yep.
Yeah.
that they've stepped back on that. Because
Yeah.
I wasn't there on the highway that night, but it sounds like you guys that were, that
Right.
they were. They were acknowledging people who had press passes and
They
said,
were,
yeah,
yes.
it was a different thing.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think what made them really, like you said, piggyback to what Emily said, I think why they really started acknowledging is because a top journalist from CNN News was arrested.
Yes, I saw
and
that.
that became a big problem. Like,
Yeah.
how are you going to arrest
That was a big
press?
deal.
Right.
Yeah, that was a big deal. So
yeah, I do. I remember that story. And going back to your work and the photographs that you guys have taken, I know there in the beginning that there were a lot of white supremacists that came out and stirred things up here in the Twin Cities and across America. And I've tried to share with people that they are well organized, they are well financed. It's not just a group of 5 or 6 or 10 guys just, hey, let's go and cause some trouble here or there or whatever. No, these are organizations that are large and powerful and well financed, and they were very, very instructive. Organized in their techniques. They train for this, a lot of it in the Pacific Northwest, unfortunately. But you guys have seen that. And do you have photographs where some of those groups were actively causing damage to property, or were there in the mix trying to make it appear as if the peaceful protesters were the ones that were participating in that? Do you guys have any photos of that?
I have it on a live stream.
Do you?
If you might remember the controversy around the Umbrella Man,
Yes.
that second day out by the precinct.
Yes.
Before the AutoZone was burned, I ended up following somebody on my live stream that was wearing all black and had a black backpack and a black umbrella. And I was like, this person's out of place. So I'm
Right.
telling my live stream,
Right.
what is this person doing?
Right.
He picked up a really big brick or a rock and was holding it kind of behind himself like this. So I followed what he was doing to have it on film. And we were over on like the south side or the north side of the precinct, and right on the other side of it, I knew that there were a bunch of police back there.
Right.
So I didn't want to follow him anymore, what he was doing, but I saw where he was going because he had the umbrella.
Right.
He walked all the way up to the side of the precinct where that big police line was. And I don't know what he did because I wasn't there, but I
Right.
was thinking he brought this big rock with him. I wonder if he threw it at the police or
Right.
at a building where they could see. As soon as the umbrella went over there, they launched a ton of tear gas into this whole huge crowd, and that's when everybody moved back into the parking lot.
Yes.
And that's when Target got broken
Right.
into because they wouldn't let people come in and get milk and just get away from the tear gas. I
Right.
went into a little like smoke shop with a friend of mine, and they kicked us out right away. I went over that footage of that Umbrella Man so many times after that happened, and
Oh,
I
I
actually
bet.
had like ABC reached out to me, and a journalist I know that writes for Heavy. She documented this stuff, trying to figure out if that was the same Umbrella Man who broke into the AutoZone and started that fire.
Right.
And it actually doesn't seem like the same person, which seems like then there were two people who were both wearing head to toe black with black backpacks
Interesting.
and umbrellas, but just their gait, their build was
Yeah.
different. It really didn't seem like the same person. But unfortunately, so much stuff happened so quickly after
Right.
then that I had to kind of put that to the side. I had to stop like doing my own little Umbrella Man investigation. But I did. As soon as I saw that was super out of place to me. You know, we do see people dressed like that and with umbrellas in Hong Kong. Like it is a protest tactic, but
Yes.
it wasn't something that was happening here, so it stood out. Like,
Right.
why would you come to this
Right.
looking like that? That doesn't
Right.
fit. And so
Right.
I followed him. So that was an interesting thing that I saw. I don't know if anyone else here documented those guys. But-
And there's so much ugliness that you guys have seen and have witnessed. Again, because you're right there on the front lines. But there's a lot of beautiful things that have been happening. And I know that you guys have witnessed that. And I want you to think about your top two things that would come to your mind of just something that was just, poetry in motion, just humanity, solidarity, compassion, whatever it is. Phil, what comes to mind for you?
I remember earlier this summer, and I believe the event was the event on Kobe Heisler's Angelversary.
Yeah.
And I was actually having this conversation with another photographer about how one of my favorite things in movement photography is to take as many photos of the happy times and the happy things and the hugs and the dances and the kisses.
And there's a lot of that going on here.
I feel like it's equally as important to document that as it is to document the fists in the air and the
Agreed.
and the anger and the the screaming and the marching and the very serious stuff, because the serious stuff's important too.
The hurt, the anger, the pain.
Yeah, all that. And the other aspect of that too that always gets me is the speakers. Because when you're standing there sometimes with those cameras, it's real easy to just fall into your routine and get your close-ups, then step back, get your wide shots, get over to the left, get the profile.
Right.
But occasionally, one of those speakers will just get you, and at this one it was Dr. Nakimi Levy Armstrong was speaking, and I've also had this happen to me doing concert photography where you forget you're even holding a camera.
Yeah, sure.
And you just get caught up in the beauty of what's happening in front of you. And her speech that day was so moving and so heartfelt and so emotion filled that I think I maybe ended up taking like 2 or 3 photos of her. And I wish that the emotion of what was coming out of her mouth would have translated into the photo better. But that's like one of those happy moments that I'll always remember. And other moments like that are just like, I like to call it the boom truck. And the boom truck has been a big part of our lives for this summer. And if you're quick and if you're nice, they'll let you climb up on the back of it if you're a photographer,
right?
So that you can get up nice and high and get those nice crowd shots.
I've taken a lot of photos of you guys up on the truck, of you guys doing your work.
And what I love is when they just, we were at this march going around the side we were on Lake of the Isles Parkway, and I just thought that was hilarious in the first place. And it was a relatively big march. There had to have been 1,000 people there. And we're marching past all these big bougie houses on Lake of the Isles Parkway, and Toussaint Morrison is telling them they should come join the march as we're walking by, and and I just remember we were on Lake of the Isles Parkway, and Peter Pepper started playing. I don't even know what song it was, but there hadn't been any music, and he starts playing music, and the entire march just busted out dancing all at the same time.
Spontaneously.
And I was like up on the back of this boom truck looking down at it and trying to take photos as fast as I could.
Yeah.
Another one of those happy moments was with King at the Woodbury protest.
Nice.
When we were sitting in the back of the boom truck, and it was the same kind of moment where the music came on. I think it was "We Gonna Be All Right."
Yeah,
and
Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, and like all the kids started dancing, and I just looked at King and like I just started laughing, and I said, "This is so awesome."
Yeah, it's moments like that, and I believe we're showing a lot of your work here on the screen, and there is so much emotion that comes out of it. You can feel it. I mean, some of the photos you guys have, it just brings tears to my eyes. Everybody have mics up and on all the way? Okay, good. I think that there is a lot of emotion. We're going to swap out with a couple of our guests today. So while we're looking at these photos, Emma, thank you so much for joining us today. And King Demetrius, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we'll get you guys swapped out here, and we're going to hear from a couple more photojournalists here in just a moment. But you can see these photographs. Gabe, feel free to just share as many as you can. Sometimes the emotion just jumps off the page. And as these are showing, if you guys would like to share commentary go ahead. We have Louis Tran is here with us today, and we have Chris June is here in the studio with us today. Gentlemen, welcome to the Solminod Show with Sonia.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, absolutely. Louis, these look like these are your shots right now. You can share with our viewers if you want to describe.
Yeah, that right there was the, I think, 4th of July celebration. So it was kind of like just letting people know that, that the Second Amendment also applies to Black lives and people of color too. And that we are ready to, stand strong and protect ourselves when we need to. So that was down at the state capitol on July 4th, actually.
Okay. And the next one, Gabe? Yeah. Oh my goodness, see that just... Oh, look at that.
That was one of my last, I love dog photography, and that's my dog that passed away 3 years ago.
I'm
we were
sorry.
up in Split Rock Lighthouse. So.
Beautiful.
And there's actually a big portrait painting of that.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
That was hanging up in a coffee shop that we used to go to every day. So, so we were honored that he got his painting hung up there.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, you're a dog owner, aren't you?
Yes, I love dogs.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. And you guys, you're freelance artists. You've worked, all across the country, and your body of work is very expansive. Louis, this is your shot here.
Yeah, that was like the day after, I believe, George Floyd over down at Cup Food.
Yes,
so
sure.
I climbed up on the roof there at one of the businesses and tried to get a view of like how many people were there. And it was just amazing to see the street lined up with just thousands of people.
Wow, incredible. Beautiful. Yeah, you guys have...
More dog photography.
Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, just precious. Ooh, gorgeous. Look at that. And this is yours. Oh, yeah, that was... I think that's one that I had submitted, that I was standing next to Nico while he was interviewing them.
And there you are.
Yeah, that's at our Lakeville event. Yeah. So, Louis, talk to us about your take, your experience as our viewers are looking at these photographs. Your take and your experience. I mean, you're out there seemingly 24/7, 365. I mean, you have just dedicated so much of your life to this. I know that your heart is in this completely. But you've been a photographer or freelancing for how long then?
I've been doing photography for, I'd say, 9 years. I've always loved photography, but when I picked up my first digital SLR camera, I started doing a lot more because it's so much cheaper and easy to learn on that without having to wait to develop your pictures and stuff like the old ways. But when Michael Brown got shot, murdered down in Missouri, that's when I got involved. And so I've been doing it for about 6 years now out there. And I've been an activist for about 9 years. A friend of mine got me into activism and politics and stuff. And the more and more I learned about it, the more I needed to be involved in seeing what's going on. And so I figure if I'm out there anyway, protesting and lobbying stuff, and why not combine it with what I love to do, which is photography. And I had always loved street photography, just taking pictures of people. And so what better way to, to combine the protesting with what I love to do. So I started getting more gear, getting a second camera, and just got really involved. It became such a passion of mine because being out there, seeing what's going on, instead of just relying on mainstream media, sitting at home. And I'm getting a lot more involved with things like even just like homelessness, housing, that kind of stuff. So instead of just the racial justice, like social movement. So.
Yeah, well, there are so many social issues.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, there are so many. And you're super uber talented, and I love your work.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I thank you that you just put your whole heart into it.
I
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah. And you saw up there, guys, there for our viewers, where there's contact information for all of our guests here today. So, Chris, talk to us. How long have you been a photographer?
So, back in high school, I guess I'll go back to then. I was fed up with seeing the Iraq War.
Yes.
I thought the amount of people being killed and justification for it wasn't really there. And I sort of got interested in like politics back then. But the older I got, the more I wanted to get involved. And so I'm on the autism spectrum. And for me, it's hard to really go because of social anxiety to be at events.
Right.
So that was my way to really show up and be there and to be able to focus on like what's happening. And the more I shot, the more I wanted to show up, and it sort of developed into a career.
And do you then find that to be therapeutic then, and actually calming to be out there? And I see Luis shaking his head.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
weirdly enough, it is because it gives me something to focus on. And then my photography's just sort of evolved.
Indeed. And whose work are we looking at here?
That's mine.
Oh, look at the precious
That's
baby.
Philando Castile's car. You can see
Yes.
blood on the door handle.
Yes.
When that happened, the community put the video out. I thought it was in Texas, but then when I realized it was in Minnesota, I headed out to the site to see the BCA investigating his car in the scene. That's when Ilhan Omar won the nomination for the Democratic Party. So basically, in Minneapolis, if you get the Democratic nomination, you've won.
Wow.
That's at Standing Rock.
Oh, my goodness.
That's Jamar Clark at the 4th Precinct, that protest. That's when Lance Scarcella shot 5 protesters. So the community crowded around that person and wanted to try to help save his life. See, at the time, there was 2 people that were shot. I thought it was just those 2 people, but it turns out 5 protesters were shot.
How tragic.
That's a cop, because most of the time, like, they're stern, but what stood out for me for that is he showed his humanity.
Yes.
Then.
And there are many that do, and that's one thing that I keep trying to express to people is people that are in this movement, they're not just across the board anti-police, they are anti-corrupt police. That is the issue, and so many activists and even family members come from families with law enforcement in their families. And there are some in law enforcement who, are sharing their humanity and they do feel. And I trust and believe that the day will come when we can all find that common ground for good. I keep praying that the corruption will be revealed and dealt with appropriately.
And those are all from the riots when they broke out.
Wow. Look at the masses of people.
That's the Wells Fargo burning.
Look at that. Oh, yes.
That's some sort of that's when the truck ran
Yes.
through. I was on the other side, so I wasn't able to get the shots of it really coming through. But as soon as it happened, I jumped to the other side. And that's some prayer that was happening. They're actually doing baptisms at the George
Yes.
Floyd Memorial.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. We baptized 8 people at my event in Lakeville. It was beautiful, wasn't it, Louis?
Yes, it was very
Yeah.
nice. I really enjoyed it when I was there.
Yeah. There's so much beauty that is happening, and you guys have seen that, there on the front lines. But it isn't what's being shown in mainstream media. And so we want to be sure to get this out to everybody as well.
So she started dropping to the ground when they were doing prayer
Yes.
and crying. So then a bunch of pastors came over to her and started praying over her.
Yeah, amen.
And I think the shot after might show what happened next. She got up and started saying, "I forgive him." And so I don't know who she was talking about, but it was a powerful moment for her.
Yep. And you've captured that clearly.
So a lot of it is capturing people, humanity, emotions, the human condition. Like
But
you
the
put your
precious
politics aside and
babies.
you just focus on what
That's
you
right.
want to capture. Because
That's right.
I mean, the one thing that connects us all is our humanity.
Yeah. Absolutely. Which one was this?
That was the march. Terry Willis was supposed to show up, and he didn't. It was about a 95-degree day, so I think it was a 7 or 8 mile march.
Yeah.
It was hot.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember hearing about that one.
And she was actually, people were marching by, and she asked if she could spray people with water to cool them off.
God bless her.
And she started everybody was cheering as they went through.
Oh, that's precious.
I don't know how they were able to handle it with all that gear. Marching 8 miles.
Yeah, they're just committed, dedicated.
That's in Kenosha.
And this as well.
That was powerful tear gas. Probably the strongest I've ever experienced. Oh, that's one of the guys who was shot and killed.
Oh, my word.
I saw Kyle Rittenhouse walk past me, and right after hearing some gunshots, so I took cover behind a wall, and then I didn't know anybody was killed, but I ran over to where someone was screaming, and then I saw them take him. Yep. That's at Mexico City in psychiatric institutions. I went with Disability Rights International to document conditions inside them. It was for a report to the United Nations.
Again, humanitarian issues.
Some of them were bad, some of them were really bad, and one of them was actually decent. I mean, someone like that who's malnourished, laying in a bed. And some of the places like this was more about community.
Right.
So even though they didn't have the same funding,
Sure.
it was still like a better place because they had a community there. That was one of the worst places because they had children locked in the jail cells without water or toilet.
Oh, my word.
Pretty much all of them were in diapers. They didn't teach them how to use the toilet or even have facilities to use it. And there was one staff person in that room. And that's when we were there. Maybe it's different when we're not.
Right.
But as you can see, that person's laying on the ground. That child, it's an institution full of children. There's no toilet, there's no food. It's a hard ground and there's a thin pad. And they just gave her a ball or him. So that was really hard to see.
And so the work that you guys are doing, you guys are sharing truth. You're sharing truth, and sometimes it's in a place where, the truth has been squelched. The truth has been hidden, and we're grateful for you guys. We're grateful for the work that you've done. You guys all have your own businesses. And yet you've come together to form Move for Justice News. Louis, can you talk to our viewers about that while we're looking at these photos?
As far as
you guys came together, and what was the goal to come together as a group?
well, I think it was basically most of us. I think we have six now, Phil. Or
7.
7. Oh yes, a writer.
Well, 8 with her.
Okay.
Emma's our 7th.
Well, we have 7 photographers, and most of us are veteran photographers, so we have been around the movement pretty much since the beginning.
Sure.
So, when after George Floyd came about, there were so many, all of a sudden, like, all these photographers and photojournalists came out of nowhere. And
Right.
it's just we're like, where'd all these people come from? Where'd they all go? And some of them were like questionable. We weren't sure if we can trust them.
Of course.
And so, because they're instigated, they're white supremacists that are trying to infiltrate and do their own press and something. And I get involved with our kind of marshal team too, sometimes our security team that secure the marchers and stuff like that. And some people question like, oh, that photographer looks kind of funny, or not funny, but like just doesn't look like they fit here.
Like they're not, yeah.
And so we figured, well, we should form a group so that this way we know that, okay, this is a group from Move for Justice New. They are trusted
Yes.
photojournalists and photographers in the community, but accepted by the organizer, leaders, so that people would just know.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the reasons that we all kind of came together as a group, to just let people know that, okay, we are a group that you could trust. We'll be there for you.
That's right.
And we will work with the movement, and whatever, and we're going to try to have somebody at different events, whether if it's big or small, we're going to have somebody there to cover what's going on.
Sure.
So, actually, that's kind of one of the reasons why we came together. Phil kind of came up with the idea, so maybe Phil could say a little bit more about it.
Sure. I feel like I just kind of, expanded upon it. It was a conversation that started with me and Taifi Fanquang, who's another one of our photographers, and I'm like, we should start something up with all the veteran photographers. He's like, well, we have this group chat message, and we've been talking about wanting to do this for a long time, and nothing's ever come of it. And so,
well, you're also busy too, and it takes time to organize, and and you guys have just been out there 24/7, really.
And over the last few months, I had the time to do it, so I just did it. And I think we're 2.5 months, maybe almost 3 months old at this point. And we're starting to like curate our own original content, our own articles on the website. And
fantastic. And Gabe, I think we have the website that's up there.
Yep.
Gabe has that up there.
Yep.
Gabe, you can show some more photos too while we're talking. I know we have several that have been submitted. I'd like to share those with our viewers. Well, I think it's a great idea, and this has been an interesting season in America. It's been an interesting time, and there's been a lot of deception.
Yep.
And it's tough to know, who we can trust, who has the right motive, who has the right intent, and across America, like I was saying earlier, you had so many white supremacist groups coming out and doing and saying things and planting information in the effort to make those in the movement look guilty, and we see that across the board in so many different issues, and so I think it's great that you guys have all come together to formulate this group.
Yeah, I mean, like one of the examples is like when we were out in Hugo at Bob Crow's place. And I believe Alpha News or another news outlet was out there, kind of like a right-wing news outlet. And they were out there filming. And after that, all they showed was John Thompson, who is one of now our state representative.
Right.
All they talked about is how he swore and screamed. They just showed that little snippet of it. Instead of showing his speeches and all the things that he's trying to say,
what his message is.
Just show that little snippet of all he did was swore at the neighbors and scared them. That's all they were saying.
Not to mention they didn't show anything about how antagonistic the neighbors were. And, that
They didn't share the whole story.
Exactly.
They did not share.
Exactly.
They
So
had
that's
their
why
own
we needed
narrative.
to be out there.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time, though. Like you see media coverage, mainstream media coverage of events that you attend, and you're like, what are they talking about?
Yeah,
that's not how that went down.
That's not at all the event I was just at.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
because they had the 6 seconds of something like that happening.
I think
Yeah.
part of it too is the amount that they're able to air. I mean, so much news happens now where they're only able to show one clip. And what's going to get the most views and clicks in this viral world? Is it going to be the shot of everybody standing peacefully, or is it going to be the anger
Right.
that you see?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
even with like the Star Tribune, they'll take the same photos we get, and like they're out there in like mass
Right.
compared to a lot of other organizations, and they capture everything. It just comes down to what the editor puts out.
Yeah.
And, like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
part of the problem too. Is when you share like 4 photos from an event, you're not capturing the like full story of it,
No.
and it's hard
Right.
to.
Well, and it seems that there's so many different biases because they actually know exactly what message they want to go out. And so they'll pull together those clips or that footage to support their agenda.
I think with newspapers, it's more like honest, but when you get like Fox News, I mean, I was after Philando Castile, the trial ended, I saw a Fox News reporter going to the most angry person they could find, who was screaming at police, and
Yeah.
asked him why he was cursing at police. What do you expect to happen? He's not even an
Yeah.
organizer. I don't even think he's with Black Lives Matter.
Right.
And then they took his mic and threw it over the police line, the protesters.
Yeah.
But they captured that and captured him screaming at the reporter and aired that. But they knew what they were doing. They went in to try to get a reaction, and they did.
Yep, and they did, and they get their likes and their views and their shares, but it's adding fuel to the fire, and it's just making that message, continue to grow, and it isn't even really the truth or the crux of exactly what is happening. I want to shift gears just for a moment. Gabe, if you can put up their information, and forgive me if I'm overstepping our bounds, but so much of the work that you guys have done, you have not been paid to do this. You have done so many things, out of your own blood, sweat, and tears, and your time. But I've asked for you guys to submit if there is a way that our viewers can support your work, support your business. If they want to purchase any photographs, if they want to purchase any of your footage, there are ways that our viewers can support each of you. So throughout the show, Gabe has been putting up information and how our viewers can follow up and contribute to that and sow into the work that you're doing. And does anybody want to touch on that?
So, well, right now we don't really have anything because we're, like Phil said, we're pretty new. We're still kind of working on that.
Yeah.
And we want to figure out how we want to do it so that we're not, like, making profits either
Sure.
of our work because that's our focus is, like, just trying to do what. So, but right now we don't have anything. But if anybody wants to support Move for Justice News, you could donate to like my personal Liberation Lens Media or Chris, and then we'll just kind of collaborate that or something into Move for Justice News information, and then we'll slowly get that from that. But eventually we'll have more stuff on our webpage. And Phil's working on it. He could probably touch base more on what we'll have when they're available.
The website's definitely a work in progress, and basically right now we just have the articles, and that's also where we post our live streams and some galleries and a link, all of our links and stuff. But bios of all of us are going to be going up soon.
Great.
And once we figure out which direction we're going with this and how we can ethically accept donations,
Sure.
those links will be up there too. And, because obviously at some point we're going to have to start accepting donations of some kind to keep things up and running.
Sure. Well, and quite honestly, the photojournalists that are with CNN and Fox and CNBC and ABC and CBS and the ABC and the XYZ, they all have salaries and they all have contracts. So, it's respectable that you would also, make a living off of the work that you're doing, just like anybody else is making a living off of the work that they're doing when they go to work.
Yep.
Yeah.
One thing I just want to add real quick too is like, and I believe Phil's working on it. That eventually hopefully we'll have like a little art gallery show.
Oh yes, yeah. I've been working on that.
Oh, brilliant idea.
I've been working on getting a couple of gallery showings for Move for Justice set up, but I
Yeah,
haven't really talked about it much because they're still up in the air.
sure.
But yeah,
Yeah,
you can
great
expect
idea.
a few of those this next coming year.
Oh, that's a great idea. You have my wheels turning
Yeah.
and how I might be able to help with that. We'll talk after the show.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great idea. Well, you guys, we only have just a couple minutes here. It's just about time to wrap. So, Emma, I thank you for joining us. King Demetrius, who have stepped off set. I thank both of you guys for joining us, and Phil and Chris and Louie. I thank you all for being here. I'm glad that we've been able to share just a small sample of the work that you've been doing. You're all very talented. Your hearts are just amazing, and if people had half the heart that you guys have, this world would be a better place.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
you.
you for having us. I
Yeah,
really
thanks for
appreciate
having
you
us.
bringing us on and letting everybody know that we're out here and
Yep.
the work that we're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, hey, you guys, we're going to go ahead and get ready to close the show here for now, but I invite you to join us right here every Wednesday at noon, and next Wednesday we have a special Thanksgiving show for you, and then the following Wednesday we'll go ahead and air live from Mexico. So stay tuned, support their work, support their businesses, follow up with them. Contact information is out there. If you have any questions, of course, you feel free to contact us at Sonia@solminod.com, or you can just reach out to us there on the website at solminod.com. But y'all stay safe and be blessed in whatever it is that you put your hands to do. Until next time, ciao.